Baylor Offensive Lineman Colton Thomasson with us. Was at A&M, now with Baylor. And everybody that knows Baylor football, that they need some bodies and also some players on the offensive and defensive line. Colton, thanks for your time. Why Baylor?
Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, I chose Baylor because it's a place that I thought I would have loved playing at since I was a kid. You know, they recruited me since I was 12 years old under Coach Rule and Coach DeLeon, and I just felt at home there. And I'm excited to come help the Baylor Bears win some ball games this fall. So,
by the way, for anyone that doesn't know how committed Colton was, or at least maybe I'm just one of those that's a little bit crazy. He's on vacation and still found a way not to block my number so we could do this interview so Baylor fans could hear from you. What did the coaching staff at Baylor with Dave Aranda, Mason Miller, and all them, what have they told you?
Yeah, they told me they see a lot of upside in me. They're excited to get me under them to develop me. And I'm going to come in June 2nd, I believe, is the report date, and work hard for them this summer and go make an impact as immediately as I can this fall.
Do you care what position you play? I know besides the obvious of the offensive line group.
No, sir. I'm coming in right now starting at tackle, but played every single position on the offensive line in college. I've even snapped sometimes. Not that anybody would need a 6'9" center, but I could do it if needed.
That would be unique, huh? So,
that would.
6'9" center. They couldn't, you know what? They just stick you right there in the middle. Nobody's going to come through and block a field goal or an extra point or a punt, most likely, when you just take up all that space. So what the decision to leave A&M, it's part of college football today. The transfer portal is just wide open. And, yeah, there are certain timelines. What was the decision for you on leaving A&M? Was it because Baylor was interested, you were still interested in them? Or how did all that go about?
I have a lot of love for Texas A&M, and I think Coach Elko and Coach Cushing are going to do a great job this fall. And I'll always love my Aggie, the 12th man of the Aggies, but I just had to do what was best for me in terms of my development and helping teams win games.
So when you say your development, where are you, and what do you feel like is your strength, and what are some things that you feel like you got to get better at doing?
Yeah, so I'd say my biggest strength, it's something I've always prided myself on, is my work ethic and drive. If you know anything about my story, I lost 100 pounds when I was a sophomore. I was 400 pounds at 16, and I got down to around 315-ish. And then most recently, I lost even more weight to try and make it right for Texas A&M. So I believe I can bring that in and do whatever is needed of me to the best of my ability and put 120% in. And so that way it can replicate on the field come, September?
Yep, absolutely. First game against Tarleton State in September,
yes,
and then they play at Utah, which is kind of a weird, I think it's a non-conference game despite Utah being a part of the Big 12 because of that game was already scheduled. So let me ask you this about your journey with your weight, your body. Was there a time when you ever how would you describe why you were so heavy? And how hard was it? Because I've lost weight in my lifetime, like 80, 90 pounds over a few years and have been able to keep it off. Tell me about how you got to be so large and what was the decision and how difficult was it to get to where you are and now you've lost even more?
So, yeah, it was always a dream of mine to go play in the NFL. And to do that, you have to play in college first. And I was still heralded as a big recruit when I was a freshman. Then COVID hit, and I was still working out a ton, but I wasn't eating right. I was just doing poor diet tendencies. Like I would go to Whataburger, get 2 double meats, and that was normal, And then because of that, I got up to 400 pounds. Had a good sophomore season, but, not a lot of people want to touch a guy that's 400 pounds. And I stepped up on the scale after that season and saw I almost got up to 410. And I just realized that I need to do this, A, to achieve my dream, and B, to be healthy long term. That's not sustainable, especially that trajectory that I was going on. So, yeah, that day that I saw that, I committed to myself and I changed my diet up and I started running and doing a whole lot of jump ropes. And then 6 months later, I was primed, ready to go for different college camps.
you had offers from everywhere. Anywhere that you wanted to go, you could have just picked it. You mentioned A&M, obviously Baylor, other big-time schools in the South, and even I think Michigan State were a part of that too. All-American, first-team All-State, all of that. Even if you never played another down of football, which is your goal, what did you learn about yourself losing that kind of weight? Because that's hard to do. You've got to be committed to doing that.
Yes, you 1,000% do, and it's not easy. I remember days where it was 30 degrees outside, pouring rain. And I was like, man, I just really don't want to do this. But I just remembered, like, hey, this is the goal. This is what you want to achieve. You can go do this, and I power through it. And yeah, I think the biggest thing I learned about myself is that there's a lot more in my tank at that time than I thought, and then it's only increased from there.
So, all right, Baylor last year struggled. The year before that, they didn't finish very well. And then of 21 and 2021, they were the best team they've ever had. How much did you keep an eye on them? And obviously being recruited by them recently during that time. And really, did you know that they needed offensive linemen even before anyone contacted you, or did you contact them first?
No, this past, I obviously keep up with college football, but I was with the Aggies, so I was pretty focused on the Aggies.
Right.
I didn't know what the needs were for Baylor, and then obviously I got the call, and it's a big blessing. So yeah, they contacted me when I hit the portal. There wasn't any tampering or anything like that, and got in touch with them, and ball got rolling from there.
All right, so you're going to come be on campus in early June, starting the off-season or summer workouts. To have that kind of size and that kind of and to lose that kind of weight, and then also have the muscle. They need you. I mean, do you understand that nothing wrong with the guys that are there, but that one of the things coming out of it was that they need more bodies on the offense and defensive line. Did you know that?
That's kind of what I found out once I was starting to look in here and eventually making my decision.
Colton Thomasson, now Baylor offensive line commit, will enroll this summer. Former Texas A&M offensive lineman, played at Smithson Valley. Larry Hill was the coach, the legendary Larry Hill, right?
Yes, sir.
He was unbelievable. I had him on a high school podcast last week. I'm a lot older than you, as you can imagine. I played at Universal City Randolph High School when Smithson Valley had just first opened. I'm not going to even get into the time base of back. I'll just say it was in the mid to late 70s. That's how old I am. And obviously the Rangers have been very, very successful. What did you learn during your time with Coach Hill and playing for what is a tradition-rich perennial power?
Yeah, Coach Hill, he's done a fantastic job. He's one of the all-time Texas coaches greats for a reason. I love him, and I loved his program the most because of what it built in me. There's teams that are always these big time powerhouses. They build football players. SB does that, but what it does even better is that it makes better men, and it really separates you when you get to college. Smithson Valley, they pride themselves on having really good discipline and effort and tradition. Like, we would have to not have facial hair, and we had to wear long white socks. All had to be uniform, all had to do these tiny little things that were just drilled into our head from when we were kids. And that allowed us to be able to work harder and work longer than other teams. And we would outwill teams and beat them when about 50 or 60% of the time they were probably better than us on paper. And so, yeah, he just instilled that hard work and discipline in me. And when I got to college, it really helped translate it, really helped separate me.
I don't think you could have described it any better. You lived it right there at Smithson Valley High School. And Coach Hill and I discussed that last fall when he joined my show. Colton, you're on vacation and trying to decompress a little bit while I try to also bother you. How much was it to make the decision, the relief of that, and then being able to get away for the most part?
Yeah, it all kind of worked out perfectly. As soon as I made the decision, I started heading down towards the beach, and it's really nice, because it's been a wild 14 days. But it's now to an end. I now see where my future is, and it's in Waco, and I'm super pumped for it. And now I just get to sit down here, relax, celebrate a little bit that I figured out this decision, and then once we get back, start working at it so I can go help the Bears win some games this fall.
Mason Miller's the new offensive line coach. I brought him up earlier. You did too. Let me know about his discussion with you, other than what we've already talked about, and how much did he have an impact in your decision to come to Baylor?
Yeah, Coach Miller is an awesome guy. We kind of clicked as soon as we got talking to each other, and I think he's a great coach. He's developed a lot of guys and put them into the league, and I think he did the same with me. And so I'm excited to get to work under him. All
right, last thing. I'm going to go back to you being focused and disciplined enough to lose weight because you had to, and also just for your health. You would go and get a couple of double fat burgers is what I call them, right? That's what I used to get. I would not only do that, but then I'd always get the large fries and then a milkshake, whatever.
Needed.
How difficult, because you got to have protein and you got to have some stuff, and you got to feed that 9 whatever amount of pounds body. How difficult is it not to slip? And if you feel like you are, what do you do?
Slip in terms of my diet?
Yeah.
It was hard at the beginning, but now since I've changed up the eating habits, my body's kind of like that. So it's honestly harder to slip than it is to stay on straight because you put good fuel in your body, your body feels good.
Yep.
It's when you put the bad stuff in your body that it starts feeling bad, So
no question.
Yeah, it hasn't been that big of a problem since then. Obviously, I'll still have a cheat day. I still love my Whataburger. I'll still go eat the Whataburger,
Yeah.
That never changed. But, yeah, I'm not having 2 double meat burgers every time now with the large fry and the milkshake, like you said.
If you live in Texas and you don't like Whataburger, then you're not really a part of the state of Texas. And I know there's a lot of other options as well. Colton, I appreciate your time, and go enjoy the beach. Colton Thomasson, Baylor Offensive Lineman, thanks for your time. This is 365 Sports.